Hello, welcome to week 6 forum. This week we are looking at the role of the president and the public, right? Where do Americans' opinions come from? Um, I think this text raises some good points about American public opinion. One thing that I think is notable is that Americans are generally pretty underinformed, if you will. And there are a number of reasons for that. I think our media bears a heavy share of the blame for that. The fact that it has a First Amendment right to seek profits over educating the public and keeping the public informed is problematical. I think there are things that we could do about that, but that it would involve making significant changes to the way we gather and disseminate news, and that would probably be very controversial, very hard to achieve. Um, I think that the authors are right in their general observation that Americans are philosophical conservatives but operational liberals, which is to say they want the programs that benefit them, and they think that all that other spending is a waste of time. And I think that that's part of the frustration that politicians on both sides of the aisle feel, because I think a lot of conservatives feel like, well, we'll get power, we'll unwind all of these liberal programs, and things will roll along so much better without the heavy hand of government. But the reality is, the minute they do get power and they start to think about tinkering with Social Security or Medicare, they find that a lot of Americans really do want those programs, and that cutting them would be a real problem. I think they have the same problem with the issue of abortion as well. As much as they want to take take the credit for banning abortion, they know the cost that they would pay at the polls. They know that women, by large majorities, are supportive of the idea of women having a right to choose. And so they recognize the high price that they would likely pay, and so they try to find backdoor ways of nibbling away at abortion rights. So why do Americans believe so many things that aren't true? That's certainly something that we ought to be talking about. The whole idea of fake news raises a really important issue, right? Uh, the fact is, a lot of Americans, certainly the parties and the president rely heavily on polls. How effective are polls as a way of getting at beliefs? One of the obvious things that I talk about in the PowerPoint little mini lecture is that it's easy to measure people's opinions. It's hard to get at the depth of their attitudes on an issue. It's hard to identify that this is a person who was a single issue voter who was prepared to kill and die over one particular issue. And that makes it really, really hard to identify what people are thinking at any particular point in time. Um, so, again, there are a lot of issues that are related to public opinion that I think we can and should discuss. I think that understanding public opinion is important for understanding how presidents act. I think that it's interesting that Donald Trump seems to spend a lot of time attempting to shape public opinion. I think it's worthy of speculation to analyze the extent to which presidents are capable, even a media savvy president like Donald Trump, how much they can expect to really do that. I think we should recognize that presidents operate under enormously high expectations, but there are also contradictory expectations. It's really hard for a president, like I remember when George W. Bush was elected, he said, I want to be the president of all Americans. Well, it didn't turn out that way. It turned out that he was really, very popular with conservatives up until very nearly the end, and very unpopular with Democrats. And there wasn't a whole lot that he was going to be able to do about that, in no small part because he governed very almost from the start in a very partisan manner. Um, and that may be a box that all presidents going forward are going to find themselves in. It's really hard to be the president of all Americans when America itself is so hyper polarized, and so many Americans find themselves really you know, angry and disgusted at the other side. It's hard to try and find that kind of positive sum policy that everyone can agree upon. So I hope you guys will read the material carefully, and I hope that we can have a good week of discussion.